everybody, and welcome to Malt Muser Whiskey Reviews. I'm Eric. On the bar for today, Jameson, Cooper's Croze. As always, I'm going to give you a nose, taste, finish review of this whiskey. Tell you a bit about the value, give you my final thoughts, final score, leave you with a malt musing. But first, we are in the beginning of March 2021. And what does that mean? I'm going to be reviewing an Irish whiskey every single Friday throughout the duration to celebrate St. Patrick's Day in Irish culture. So if you haven't yet, take a second, hit subscribe. That'll make sure you don't miss any of these great reviews that are going to come out every Friday, as well as get notifications for my Tuesday happy hour, which happens every single Tuesday at 8 p.m. Eastern. All right, let's get into it. Jameson, Cooper's Croze. So brand name Jameson, comes out of the Middleton Distillery in Ireland. Probably doesn't need an introduction. You've heard of it before. However, this series in particular is part of the Whiskey Makers series that Jameson did. They have 3 releases, and this one in particular called the Cooper's Croze. The Croze is an homage to the tool used to carve the grooves into the heads of the barrels that it goes into. This whiskey in particular is 43% ABV, triple distilled, which you expect from an Irish whiskey, and it is non-chill filtered, as it says right here on the label. So that's great so far. Little bit more information. It doesn't say much about anything about color, so maybe they've added color to it. And while it doesn't say it on the bottle, I did go search around a bit on the internet and found out that what also makes this unique is that it has been aged for some period of time in Iberian sherry casks. In other words, Spanish, probably Oloroso sherry. So we have a little bit of a sherry finish on this one. Okay, Jameson Cooper's Croze, let's get in the glass. While the color may not be completely natural, for posterity's sake, we will take a look at it here. My crumpled up napkin. Here we go. So, right away on the nose, fresh, sweet, green, a little bit tart. When I say green, one of the characteristics of a lot of Irish whiskey is a mix of malted and unmalted barley, the unmalted barley giving you that kind of green, fresh note. Definitely getting that here. It's sort of bready. Honey. There's a little bit of a spice, maybe a light cinnamon, tart apple. Coming off maybe that sherry cask. There's a little bit of a dried fruit thing as well, likely from the same place. It smells rich, robust. There's a bit of vanilla, a bit of light toffee, maybe a slight minty note. All in all, very, very inviting nose. Quite nice. Let's give it a taste. Let's launch it. Rich on the arrival, but medium bodied. It arrives pretty sweet, relatively complex. As it develops, those apple, the pear, the slight green grainy note really kind of expands, grows on the palate into a nice spice, but it is not overpowering. It's still kind of wrapped in this creaminess, honey, vanilla, toffee, a little bit of dried fruit in the background, kind of holding it together as it goes into a medium finish, slightly drying and tannic, a little bit of that oak and barrel spice, but you are getting what I would describe as some of that pot still essence that you get out of Irish whiskeys. So that unmalted barley is asserting itself a bit, even though it is not explicitly defined on the label as being from a pot still. So working really well so far. Let's put a little bit of water on it. As I mentioned, 43% ABV, not exactly a world beater in terms of its alcohol by volume, but let's see what else happens on the nose. Right away, with the addition of water, as those alcohol compounds start separating and breaking up, a lot more fruit. Apple, the apple is very strong. Apple caramel. You're almost getting some light berries. Peach, peach with cinnamon, like a peach cobbler kind of thing. It's there. Slight alcohol burn, despite only being 43%. Pull it back just a little bit here. Again, that kind of breadiness, not like sourdough, but just kind of like a sweet honey and yeastiness coming through. Again, those fruit notes are just in the back. They're quite subtle, but they're there. Dried fruit, we're talking like apricot, orange, a little bit of citrus. We're more on the lemon lime side. Quite nice. All right, going for another taste. Palate has grown a little flatter. Spice notes takes a big step back. Still a little bit tannic. Not necessarily getting a lot more other notes in here, but finish seems to have shortened up a bit too. This a little bit more disjointed here on with the addition of just a couple drops of water, which makes me think at 43%, you know, this is a whiskey that's probably best experienced neat. One more taste. That sherry note is there. I mean, it's unmistakable in the dried fruit note, especially when you even get into the tannicness of the finish here. You do get some of that, you know, there's some juicy fruit gum. It's kind of sweet, but also just dried berries, kind of like your generic Christmas spices, cinnamon, a little bit of allspice nutmeg. Again, just dry fruits, darker fruits. Quite nice. Okay, so looking to get into the Whiskey Makers series from Jameson, bottle of Cooper's Croze. Going to run you about $60 to $75 USD here in 2021. I'm going to put it at a moderate value, mostly because there are some other things on the Irish side that I think you can get at this price that you know, might give you just a little bit more, but this is no slouch by any stretch. Okay, so final thoughts. Jameson Cooper's Croze, delicious. Really good whiskey, definitely a step up from your regular Jameson. However, the cost, you're going to be paying about double for something like this. You do get 3% more ABV. It is non-chill filtered. Those are good things. It does have this sherry cask maturation or finish, which is also a plus, giving it a little bit more complexity. But you know, at $65, $70 median range, you know, a little bit pricey for an NAS. I think about some alternatives out there on the Irish whiskey market, things like Powers John's Lane 12-year-old, which I also did a review from. You can go check that out, you know, which I think give you just a little bit more in terms of its depth, its flavor, and its complexity. But this is an all-in-all solid release from Jameson, and I'm going to give this a 3.25 out of 5, which means I do recommend you give this a try. Pick up a bottle if you do find it at a good price. All right, y'all. So, as I mentioned, it is Irish Whiskey Month here on Malt Muser Whiskey Reviews, and that means next week, the week after, and 2 weeks from now, you're going to get an Irish whiskey reviewed here. So take a sec, hit that subscribe button if you haven't yet. And with that, I'll send you over to your malt musing, and I will catch you next week here on Malt Muser Whiskey Reviews. So lunch, y'all.